Hey everybody, welcome to Backyard Blue. Just two brothers talking sports and whatever else comes our way. I am brother number one by birth order anyway. That's me, Blake Miller. My students call me Mr. Miller. My mama calls me Moose. Still not sure why. Brother number two is on the other side of the screen. That's my brother from the same mother, Hunter Borland, the Hunt Daddy, the head hunter. My daughter calls him Hump. Hump, what's happening?
Not a whole lot talking into this fancy new microphone I got about 20 minutes ago. So maybe I'll sound a little bit better. You can't make my country ass sound much better, but maybe I'll do it a little bit.
Hey, you sound better already, man. We don't hear as much echo as before, but yeah, sounds better. I like it. Same company as mine. Can start with the cheaper ones, work our way up. Make
Absolutely.
more than 78 cents on our podcast. Uh, you been paying attention to these stocks, man?
Oh man, yeah, so I saw the GameStop stuff, I guess about, I don't know, 7 to 10 days ago, and I didn't jump in on it or anything. I was just fine looking at it from a distance and keeping up with it and didn't really know where it was going to go. But man, the past 36 to 48 hours,
Whew.
GameStop is really these guys on Reddit have really changed the game on Wall Street. It's kind of fun to watch from a distance.
Yeah, I want to have a little bit in on it just to say I took part in it, but it's almost like I don't know. It's a little scary. It's a bubble. You know it's gonna burst, but like, can you get in on the bubble and ride it until it pops? Right
Get
until the
out at the
point where
right
it's about to
time.
pop and get out and make a little money, even if it's just a little bit. I was telling a coworker today, it's like even if my stuff, I'm even if I'm late and my stuff increases by 20%, what like just a little bit. I'm not expecting to like, get rich quick, but still,
There were some that did, though. I mean, I've
oh
heard
my
people making
goodness,
millions off
dude.
$50,000 or something, pulling out all their business loan or business savings and putting it into it. And I mean, cashed out for a couple $1 million. So shout out to those guys. That's awesome.
It's life changing for some of these people. I know somebody was
Heck
talking
yeah.
about taking if you took your $1,200 stimulus check back in May and bought GameStop shares at whatever they were, $3-4 a share at that point, and you were sitting on 470 today. You're talking about 6-figure cash outs.
Yep.
Out of
Here's a
out of a
here's a line
$1,200
from
stimulus check.
here's a line from Dad. If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
It's true. Well, my ifs and buts are still ifs and buts, but I'm still a
Absolutely.
happy guy. But I've enjoyed. I've been trying to find out how like ways I can say hold the line. I've really
Hold the
enjoyed,
line.
and
Hold the
I've been
line.
enjoying trying to say hold the line as much as possible. And I really wanted to when I got up this morning, go outside and just go to the moon. Like I just wanted it.
if it, it
Everybody's
feels
like
like a 300 movie or something like that, and you're about to give the speech or whatever, and hold the line.
to the moon. I'm just gonna see like a line to the moon. Like maybe
Maybe
that's
that
what
could
they were
be.
doing all along with the little. It's probably an arrow, but maybe they were drawing a line to the moon. Who knows?
Maybe
Never know.
we got us a new catchphrase with either hold the line or to the moon
Oh, dude,
in the show. So if I remember, I'll forget within 10 minutes of getting done with
I
this.
will
But
not. I'm gonna use to the moon as much as I possibly can until it becomes uncool. Maybe even after it's still uncool. I
Memphis
don't know.
Grizzlies to the
To the
moon.
moon. Let's go to the moon. Uh, Robinhood shutting stocks down today was something. This is gonna be really interesting to watch. It's gonna be one of the bigger stories of the next couple of weeks to see how this all plays out. I'm wondering if people are going to be holding the bag in a couple of weeks, or like in a good way, or is it going to be an empty bag? Who knows? I'm going to have a little bit, but for the most part, I'm going to have a bag of popcorn watching, seeing what's going on the side.
It's definitely gonna be fun to watch. I turned it on Fox Business or whatever the day just to see what they were, and they didn't really talk about it too much, but just to see, what's everybody saying. I checked at CNBC and a couple other ones, and eventually by noon or so, it was the story on
Yeah,
all the business channels and stuff like that.
they made the Reddit channel private last night too, the Wall Street Bets too. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I'm interested to see how much like the government gets involved, and I know Robinhood's opening up limited buys tomorrow. I'm like, this is gonna be bananas. This whole thing is just bananas. Like it's all people were talking about at school today. Like I had
So
seven or eight
much for a fair
coworkers.
market.
Right? Mm-hmm. Just a market. So the NFL this weekend. I know it was Sunday and it's 4 days later, but still worth talking about. What were your thoughts on that Bucks Packers game?
Uh, so for 2 weeks in a row, listened to it on the radio. I went duck hunting Sunday morning and was on the way back after a crappy day of duck hunting. Having to listen to a game on the radio wasn't too much fun. But I mean, the Packers did everything they could to give that game away from what I gathered.
Yes.
I mean, the play at the end of the half, I'm listening to it on the radio, and I couldn't believe that they gave up the touchdown there at the end. I can't see the defense or anything, but from what they're saying is like it was just a blown coverage. Like, how do you make that mistake, not playing people back? If you're going to get 3 interceptions from Tom Brady, you got to capitalize. And I know everybody's going to talk about that 4th down on the 8-yard line and kicking the field goal, but I guess you give the ball to Aaron Rodgers no matter what, and let him have a chance to win the game. And you're going to get if you don't make it, you're playing defense on the whatever yard line, whatever yards you get.
Yeah, and
you got to get the ball back anyways. But I don't think you can look at that last possession and go, "That's where they lost it." I mean, they had every opportunity to win that game.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So I wanted the Packers in, but I think this will be the first time I've rooted for Tom Brady. Not really just because it's the Chiefs, but I think it is a really cool story that he moved teams, and I think it's going to change the way free agency works in the NFL possibly.
Yeah, it very well could. I was saying the Packers, I believe, had every chance to win that game. It's kind of like Michael Lombardi says. It's always like you got to control the middle 8. And in the middle 8, the Packers were brutally awful, and the Bucs were good enough. That touchdown to Miller was huge. And everybody's gonna give Brady his props, but that was really just a blown coverage to give that touchdown right before the half. It was not good for the Packers. It did not go well. The situational football was poor. It just felt like every opportunity they had to get back in the game, they blew it. I don't know how good. I still think Tampa's good, but I don't think they're the best team from the NFC. They're the team that made it, but I still don't think they're the best team from the NFC.
I think they're the best team over the past 6 weeks overall, like that. But I think I don't know what they figured out after they lost to you guys. In what was that, in Kansas City or in Tampa?
Tampa.
I forget. But once they lost that game, they were a totally different team. And I think they let Tom Brady make a little bit more decisions and kind of maybe call some plays or do whatever and make some more adjustments. But their defense is playing. That front 7 is pretty good. So their secondary is not the best, but they're playing well.
It was a little bit. He's doing a little bit more before the play, which I think is a big deal for how he likes to handle things. I was probably more afraid if I was as a Chiefs fan. I was more afraid of Green Bay than I am of Tampa. Just I guess because we had already played them, and that game, even though we only won by 3, I feel like that game was never really in doubt. If you look like win probability,
was Antonio Brown there for that game? I don't think he was he? If he was, it was limited snaps probably.
I think that's right.
Because I think he came around like week 10 or something. So I do think he makes a difference. But they got a lot of wide receivers, and I think we'll talk about the next game. But I think where the Bills struggled is they couldn't spread out the Chiefs and take advantage. They never got the top off that defense. And I think with those guys, with Scotty Miller and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown, they can get the top off, but I don't know.
The defense of the Chiefs is way better than people think. The secondary, especially in the middle of the field, with Matthew and Thornhill, who looks way healthier now than he did earlier in the year. That's about as good of a safety combination as you have in the NFL. They don't get enough credit. The defense is not an elite defense, but it's good enough. It's probably just as good or better than Tampa's defense, and I think the offense will carry them. You have to score so much to keep up with Kansas City. I still feel the same way that I felt. I think if they play their best game, they're going to beat everybody that's in front of them, no matter how the other team plays. It's all about them playing their best game. If they shoot themselves in the foot, then they're going to give the other team a shot. But if they play clean and don't have back-breaking terrible penalties and bad turnovers and drops, which they started off that way against Buffalo, and I was a little nervous for a minute, but as soon as they got the train rolling, they made a good Buffalo team look awful. Like Buffalo,
I'll say Buffalo didn't play well. Like I know that some of that's the Chiefs, but their offense, they went away from everything they were doing to be good. Like they didn't run like they were running short screens like Stephon Diggs. They never tried to get deep. I mean, I can't even remember a throw that Josh Allen had that was more than like 20 yards. There was one in the double coverage late in the game, but it just felt like, and I'm not taking anything away from the Chiefs because they demolished them. It just didn't feel like it didn't feel like the Bills were ready for that spotlight. And I think it showed. And it takes time. I mean, the Chiefs were, 2 years ago when they lost to the Patriots, they looked kind of the same way. Like they weren't ready for that game yet. And the Bills are young; they'll be back. But
There's a
I'm excited
massive
for the Super
gap
Bowl.
between
But
Kansas City and Buffalo, though. I think anybody who watched that game and thought that those were comparable teams
I
is
don't
not watching the
understand
same thing.
Buffalo. I think it's closer
They're
than
not on the
probably you
same
give them
level.
credit for. I think it's closer than what you give them credit because you're a Chiefs fan, and I mean it is what it is. But I think it's close. It's not close, but it's closer than what maybe you give them credit for. I don't understand the defensive game plan coming in that they just let them complete anything under 10 yards. And I mean, it wasn't like Mahomes made a ton of just amazing throws or was getting out of the pocket doing everything. He would just
He didn't
throw
have
the ball
to.
10 yards, throw the ball 10 yards to Kelsey or 5 yards to Hill, and he would make something happen. That's just what it was the entire game. Like it wasn't a fun game for me to watch, being just not a fan of either team because it just
I
felt
enjoyed
like
it.
it was dinks and dunks and Tyreek Hill's just fashioning everybody. That's what it felt like.
It is a lot of that. I know Mahomes is awesome, but he's got a heck of a receiving combination with those two, with Kelsey and Hill.
Oh, it's unfair.
I think Kelsey has after this season has a legitimate argument as top 3 tight end ever to play. I think he just had the best tight end season ever, and a lot of people are going to take away from his greatness and say that he's great because of Mahomes. People do the same with Mahomes and say Mahomes is great because of Kelsey and Hill, but I think Kelsey just had the best tight end season ever, and
I wonder, Romo.
he was
I'm
awesome with
interested.
Alex too, though.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's just awesome. Like, he's just awesome. It's the same thing as Tony Gonzalez. It used to be the same thing with Jason Wynn for me. Like, Jason Wynn with any quarterback he had was awesome, but I think not to that level. Like, it's a different game now for tight ends. But I do think you were listening to Tony Romo, and he's like, you have got to hit Kelsey off the line because they were just letting him run free, backing off 3 or 4 yards and letting him get that. Once he can body you up, wherever his route ends or whatever, you're not containing that guy. He's too big for corners. He's too fast. The cliche, too
Yeah.
fast for linebackers. But I do think there's something to, and Tony Romo is, I mean, he's a genius in that booth. Like, he calls out so much stuff, but I do think there is something for that to hit Kelsey with one of your linemen, not somebody guarding him, just hit him and get him off his route to start, and it'll just disrupt timing. But
Thing
you
is,
got to be
when
able
you
to do it.
that, like even doing that, like if you try to get him, hit him early, yeah, you take him away. But then, like, they got so many other weapons. It's like, I mean, especially if Watkins plays in the Super Bowl, and I know he's not everything, but he's a difference maker, And
But
I don't know.
you can't let Kelsey catch 10 balls in the first half for like 120 yards. Like, you just can't let that happen.
They let him go off. Well, I'm saying I think he's still going to get his catches no matter what. Get some catches. You can't completely take him away. He's gotten so good that you can't ever completely shut him down. You can't take Hill away either.
No, but that looked like
limit
it was no defense playing out there. Like, it just looked like they were in warm-ups, practicing route
They
running.
can't get pressure. Buffalo, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Buffalo cannot generate any kind of pressure at all.
And I do think that'll be a big difference in the Tampa game.
I agree. I think that's the thing that I'm afraid of. If there's a weakness with the Chiefs, it is now Eric Fisher being out and the fact that you are now starting in the Super Bowl 4 backup linemen. There's no Schwartz and Fisher, who are their 2 best offensive players after Kelsey, Hill, Mahomes, and those guys are awesome. You got a left guard in Allegretti starting over Kelechi Osemele, and Allegretti's better than Osemele, based on how he's played this year. The center, the guy who's left over from the starting lineup, is probably the worst starting lineman we had, Austin Ryder. It's different. But they're gonna make it work, and I feel like Reed having 2 weeks to scheme for this is gonna be able to make up for it. The only game they lost when Fisher played since the beginning of 2019 is this year's game against the Raiders, and that was the worst game the Chiefs have played in this 2-year span. He's a difference maker, but I will say last year when he was out, they struggled. But that was because of Cam Irving. Might be the worst lineman in football. Like, he's awful.
Yeah, and this will be the last thing, because like I said, we'll talk about the Super Bowl next week just a little bit more. That'll probably be mostly what we talk about is going into that game. But
Yeah.
Not just getting pressure on Mahomes, but I think you have to get pressure on Mahomes from the outside. If you if you have your defensive end come inside on the tackle or on the guard and let him out of the pocket, it's not just getting pressure because He's better outside of the pocket than he is inside of the pocket.
Yep.
And so, but I think with Pierre-Paul and those guys, they can do that. It just you gotta execute. I think there's gonna be a lot of screens and quick throws to Hill in the Super Bowl.
Probably so. I mean, the thing is, like, Reed can scheme for this stuff, and I think he knows it's coming. That game against Tampa was not Tampa's best game, but it was never in doubt. It was the Chiefs played an awful second half, and still the game was never in doubt. I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. I feel confident. Obviously, I'm never going to be shocked if the team loses, but I still maintain that it will be their own demise if they lose. It won't be because somebody else was better than them.
I'll come with this take next week, but I'm bored by the NFL. They're about to enter the NBA where the NBA and the Warriors were, and I will be happy if the Chiefs win for you. I do not want to see the Chiefs win. It's going to be boring. Like, it will be boring. Like the NFL will be boring for the next 10 years because you know who's going to be in the AFC Championship every year. At least with the Patriots, it was like, man, they have so many weaknesses. They can't make it back this year. And then they would. But you know what I mean? Like, I think there's a different in talent in what you see on the Chiefs and what you saw in the Patriots dynasty. But like I said, I'll go into that a little bit more because you're going to you may hate me after next week.
I ain't going to hate you, but I'm going to disagree with you 100%. So you say you were shifting your focus, not super excited about the Super Bowl matchup, but maybe shifting your focus to what you think the offseason is going to look like. Are you hoping to hop on that Aaron Rodgers to Dallas bandwagon?
Aaron Rodgers isn't coming to Dallas, but if he,
Nope.
I would be all for it.
Of course you would.
But I'll start the rumor of Aaron Rodgers to Dallas, although I don't know how much play that'll get from us. But
your inside sources, our 7 listeners might actually.
The one I want is Matt Stafford. He is going to make $23 million next year and $20 million the year after that. If we tag Dak, we'll pay him $38 million. So that gives you $15 to $18 million in a year, or each of the next 2 years, to rebuild your team, especially on the defensive side, but also that offensive line. You have weapons galore. We don't need to pay the big wide receiver. Go get you an off. Look, I like Dak, but at $40 million a year, I don't like Dak. We're not winning a Super Bowl with him. Matt Stafford, I don't know if we could get to the Super Bowl with Stafford either, but if you can rebuild around him and get an offensive line that can protect him and rebuild that defense a little bit, that secondary, I think we could go from winning 7 games this year or 6 games, whatever it was, to 12 or 13 next year. They have talent.
Yeah. And
that division's not very good. So that'd be the way I'd go. I think they at least got to make a call. If you can get them for 1 first-round pick and maybe a 3rd, 4th round or something like that, I think you have to do it.
I wonder what the tag is going to be. I think the price tag on Stafford is going to be higher than people think because a lot of people are saying, well, the 2nd or 3rd round pick might get him. But I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be a high tag because of his friendly contract over the next couple of years. And there's going to be a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks. There's going to be a lot of
and he's
teams.
From Dallas, too.
Yeah. The fact that he's from Texas is going to make a difference. Also, I think I read that he and Clayton Kershaw played on the same baseball team in high school. That's kind of cool.
I know they went to the same high school. I didn't know I'm sure he played baseball. I think they were because he's an awesome quarterback. Maybe.
Anyway, it got me to thinking about like all the different teams that may have a new quarterback. So what I want to do is run through every team in the NFL real quick, just rapid fire. Yes or no, will they have a new quarterback? All right, starting AFC East, Patriots.
Yes.
I think so too. Bills.
No.
Jets.
No.
I'm going to say yes on the Jets. I think they will. Dolphins.
No.
I say no unless Tua goes to Houston for Watson. All right, in the South, Houston.
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you. Jacksonville.
Yes. Well, I mean, they're going to get Lawrence.
Right. Yeah. Titans.
No.
Colts.
Yes. Yeah.
Obvious, right?
They got
okay. So it's quite a few. We're already up there. All right. AFC North. Pittsburgh.
Yes.
tend to agree with you, but Roethlisberger might come back for one more year, 40-something
Are we
million.
saying opening day starter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he retires. I think if he does come back, they'll have a new starter by the midway through the year.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Baltimore?
No,
No.
they're getting ready to resign or extend him.
Cleveland?
No,
probably not. Cincinnati?
no. Well, they'll have a different opening day starter, but they're gonna go back to Burrow as soon as he's healthy.
Yeah, that's what I wonder if they're going to do anything. I wonder if they'll even try to compete next year at all. Try to get a decent quarterback besides Ryan Finley or whoever they had back there. Somebody I didn't know. I wonder if they'll try to bring in somebody okay, serviceable. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We know Burrow's their guy. All right.
Yeah.
On to the West. Kansas City, obvious. No.
Yes.
Although you really wish they would. The rest of the league
He
wishes
needs to
they
come
have a new
on
quarterback.
down south. He needs to get back to Texas. Get him a Cowboy hat.
All right. Chargers? No.
No.
Herbert?
No, they got a few. It's going to be fun watching him and Mahomes over the next 12, 15 years.
Yeah, I agree. The Raiders could be interesting.
That's the toughest one we've gone through so far. I'll say yes.
I think yes, too. I think
it
they're gonna have
could just
somebody
be
new.
Mariota next year.
That's possible. I think that's very possible. Derek Carr, it's a hard guy to read. He's just hard. He's hard to read. I sometimes I think he's awesome. Sometimes I think
There's
he's
some
the
games he
worst
looks like a
quarterback in the
top
league.
5 to 7 quarterback in the league, and then there's games I'm like, this dude couldn't
He should be a
play
backup.
college football right now.
Sometimes he makes you long. Like there were a couple years ago, like everyone's like, put in Matt McGloin. I'm like, dude, there's
Sometimes
that
I look
low.
and I'm like, is that David Carr?
Yeah, right. No. Denver with Drew Lock.
Where do they draft?
I'm not sure.
I know they're in the top 10.
Hold on.
You know what? I'll say no.
All right, I'm gonna be real. But Drew Lock sucks. All right,
He's not good, but I think I think the team around him is bad though too. Like I don't think they're a good team.
He's got a decent O line. I really think he's got a decent O line. I think he has a decent receiving core. And he's got an okay running game. Not that their offense should be elite, but it should at least be like okay, serviceable. They picked 9th.
Yeah, they won't take a quarterback there.
I don't know.
Unless Justin Fields falls.
If Fields falls, please give him Fields. I think Fields would do pretty well there. I think he'd come in and they'd be a better team right away. I think Drew Lock is what your boy likes to say, butt cheeks. He's not good.
I don't think that with any quarterback they get, unless you got an elite quarterback, that they're good next year anyways.
No.
So
and you have to
I don't
play the
see
Chiefs
them
twice,
going out.
2 losses.
I don't see them going out to get Matt Stafford, although that's been rumored already. Like every quarterback that's available has been rumored. I mean, I guess if you get Deshaun Watson, that automatically raises your floor if you have some weapons around them. But their defense is not good, and like you said, I think they need to just start building and then maybe try to put a quarterback there in 2 years.
The defense got better at the end of the year. I do think their defense did get better, although slightly better, not a lot better. I think the defense did improve at the beginning of the year. I just think they're a quarterback away. I mean, they do need help on the defense. They're a quarterback away from making a playoff run, is what I'm saying. Like being.
I feel like they're close to that
9-7.
Dallas Cowboys range right now, where you just kind of feel stuck in mediocrity, where they're not going to be bad enough to get a top 5 game-changing pick in the draft over the next few years, and you're not good enough to make a Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
Like that's where I've been with as a
good,
Cowboys fan for 20 years.
I don't think Drew Lock is any good though. I really don't. I don't think there's anything special about him. I think he is a very vanilla.
He can rap put on for my city though.
Yeah. That was probably cool. That's about all he's good at, and I'm not even sure he was good at that. All right. So on to the NFC. In the East, Dallas. What you thought? Yes or no?
What I want? Yes. Dak will be back next year.
That's what I think too.
I think they'll get something around $35 million a year. Hopefully, that'd be the good side of things and roll with him.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, what about Washington?
Yes.
I think so too. Giants?
No.
I
think Daniel Jones is good. I don't think he's great, but I think he's good.
Yeah, the cast around him is not good, but they could be better. They could
Saquon
be working
comes
their way
back.
into something. Yeah, it'll make a difference. And he needs a couple receivers. He needs a little help. Shepard and
Yeah.
Slayton are not enough there.
Yeah.
But Ingram's going to get better this year. Last one.
He's still got Butterfingers.
Oh, my gosh, yes. Philly.
I'm going to say no, and part of that is because I think the reason they fired Peterson was to keep Wentz around.
I agree. His contract is so massive, he's going to be hard to trade. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Carson.
But where does Jalen Hurts go?
To the bench. He's not good either.
He's not going to be there next year.
It's possible they could deal him, but he's not. He might be a starter somewhere else, but he's not. I don't think he's any good either. Like long term, I mean, he could turn out to be like a decent running quarterback in the right scheme. Like if he ends up with a, Greg Roman type scheme like Lamar has in Baltimore, it could happen. But I just don't think that guy can throw. I mean, at the level you need to in the NFL. I think.
No, I don't think so either. But I do think I don't think he'll be there. I don't think you can put him back on the bench.
It's gonna be tough.
I don't think you can keep that quarterback room like that. But oh well, I hate them. I hope they're terrible and never win another game.
You would like to see Sudfeld start, right?
Yeah.
Sudfeld.
16. God, what was our sidearm quarterback from that played for the Cowboys this year for one game? Let's trade him there and let him be the starter.
DiNucci.
Good Lord.
He is one of the worst NFL quarterbacks I've ever seen. I've seen some bad ones.
I think he's the worst I've ever seen.
The only one I remember thinking he was worse was he played in Arizona.
Blake Bortles.
He actually won a couple games. Yeah, right.
Rex Grossman.
I can't even get out what I want to say. His name was Max Hall, I think. He played for BYU and then started a couple games. He won a couple games though, but
wasn't he the quarterback when Memphis beat them in the Boca Raton Cheez-Its Fritos Bowl?
That was the Miami Bowl.
And we got in a fight.
It was a Miami Beach.
I think he was the quarterback then. Maybe I
don't think he was. I think this was earlier on. Like this was the Carson Palmer era in Arizona, I believe. Maybe even before then. But he was bad. But I remember thinking like Max Hall. Who is Max Hall? I was like, did a little research on that guy. All right, so that's the NFC East. NFC South. Carolina is an interesting one. Teddy Bridgewater.
I'll say he'll be the starter. I could see them drafting a quarterback.
I think he's gone.
He's on a pretty big contract too, doesn't he?
He did, but I just think that they know he's not that good, and
I just wonder if they roll with him to start the season and then maybe bring in, somebody that they drafted.
It's possible. I don't feel good about that one. If I say yes or no either way, I don't feel good about that one. Just no, I don't feel good about it. Tampa.
I'm going to say no, but I could see Tom Brady walking away if they win.
So he'll be back. Basically. They ain't winning.
Couldn't you see him walking away, though? Like, I think I don't think they could win 2 in a row, and I don't think he's going to play after next year. So, I mean, who knows? That guy could play until he's 60, but
he might.
I'll say no.
Superhuman. I think he comes back. New Orleans. Man, this is an interesting division with quarterbacks. Yeah, I think they get a new one too. Famous Jameis.
Drew Brees is done.
Famous Jameis, maybe. But that would still count as a new quarterback.
I don't know. They're so weird. I don't know what they're doing. It just feels
could
weird.
Do it for a little bit. I don't know.
I guess if you could get Matt Stafford or somebody, they would roll with that.
Yeah, but everybody ain't getting Matt Stafford.
If they got Deshaun Watson, and I don't even think that's out there.
No.
But if they had Deshaun Watson, I would probably put early bet on them to win the Super Bowl next year.
I would too. I well, at least be in it. Like, give me an NFC. Give me an NFC championship bet on that. And the last one was Atlanta.
Yeah,
I think they'll have a new quarterback too. Atlanta should.
I think they're going to draft that dude from the latest mock drafts. That guy from BYU. It seems like they're going to go after him.
Wilson. Yeah, I think it'd be a smart move. I think he's going to be good. I think you're going to have 3 really good NFL quarterbacks, and then who knows what Trey Lance turns into and Mac Jones. But I really feel pretty confident in the futures of Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields. I think they're all going to be 3 good NFL quarterbacks. And Mac Jones in the right system, and I guess Lance too. I don't know anything about him, but Mac Jones in the right system is going to be good. Like, he could be really good.
Is Trevor Lawrence I mean, he's the best prospect since Andrew Luck. Obviously, I don't know if I think he's got more hype than Andrew Luck because he's had hype longer. Like ever since high school, he's been the guy. And I don't really remember Andrew Luck until he came out, in Stanford. But I mean, Peyton Manning, maybe. I mean, that it's been
Yeah,
this long where you're like, this is the guy.
Eli had it
And
a little bit. It lasted a while. I think he had some hype around him where he was going
I
to be
think
the
that
number
was
one
more the
guy.
Manning thing, though, than just
I
like Peyton.
agree.
I feel like he was the new guy that
Mike
he had
Vick.
the last name Manning. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while though. Carson
Like to
Palmer had
this
some hype
level.
around him.
Like to
Yeah,
this level, though.
I remember when. Okay, so when Andrew Luck was going to come out, I think the whole year I think it was the year the Chiefs really stunk, and it's how we ended up with Eric Fisher. We had the number one pick, and we took Eric Fisher. I thought we should have taken a quarterback. It's kind of funny how history could have been if Andrew Luck actually came out that year, but the whole thing was suck for luck. It was like, and it just went together really perfect. Let's suck for luck, and I was getting excited thinking, he's going to be in a Chiefs uniform the next year. No, it's Eric Fisher, but I'm really grateful for Eric Fisher. Now.
I say that about Zach Martin and when we drafted like 3 linemen 3 years in a row for Dallas, I was like, it's boring when your team drafts an offensive lineman in the first round, but then like 2 years down the road, you're like, thank God,
Oh yeah,
because we're just mauling people, and then you have these freak injuries that you start all new offensive linemen by the end of the year. Sucks.
Fisher might be our longest tenured Chief at this point. I don't know. All right, NFC North. Let's get it out of the way. Detroit, yes, they will have a new starting quarterback.
Yes.
Green Bay,
No.
no. It would cost them $31 million to trade him, is what I heard the other day. They ain't trading him. He's coming back.
If he demands it, he'll be gone. But
Nope,
he's
I
coming
don't think
back.
so. I don't
I don't think
so.
he's going to demand it. I
just
listened to
don't
my
think
Pat
they're gonna eat
McAfee in
that
that
much
interview.
money.
He's staying.
Yeah, I think so too. At least one more year, maybe a couple more. Who knows? Okay. What about Chicago?
I'll say yes.
I lean towards Trubisky staying.
I was going to say I think he probably will be there, but man, if they keep him, Chicago may be set on fire. They can't stand that guy.
I think it's very possible. The Great Chicago Fire of 2021 could happen. Let's see, where they pick in the 20s. They pick 20, pick number 20. So that's what it looks like. Pick 20. I don't think it's likely there's a good quarterback around at that point.
Is that a Mac Jones spot?
It could be. I mean, and if
And,
that's
and
the
roll
case,
with Trubisky for another year, so Trubisky will be back.
well, they brought Nagy back too, and it makes me think that this is probably just they don't think he's the guy long term either. It makes me think this is just a 1 year thing, like Trubisky's coming back for 1 year. That's just my thought. Just initial reaction to that. All right, Minnesota.
No.
Yeah, I think they're keeping Cousins, even though I don't think he's very good. Okay. Arizona.
No.
I agree. I love Kyler. Unless he goes play baseball. That's possible. That's going to be a thing every year. If they don't make the playoffs, is Kyler going to play baseball? No.
He looked
Good.
awesome. I think he was hurt at the end of the year, but I do think he's good. I don't think he's great, though.
Yeah, I think it's a good. Yeah, that's a perfect
Teetering on the great. Could be.
Okay.
But not there yet.
Rams.
Yes.
I wonder how much it would cost them to move him, though. That's the only other thing.
There's rumors that they're trying to find a way out for him. Like they're looking for some way to get rid of him.
But there's a difference in would you like to do it and can you do it? I don't know. But he'd be a bargain for somebody else if someone has to pay that much of his salary. It's possible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean yes just because I want to see it. I think Goff could be decent somewhere else under the right system, and I don't know. I don't think he's. I will not tell you.
He feels like an Alex Smith 2.0.
No, he can't run like Alex either. He's like an Alex Smith that can't run.
It just like he's not going to beat you with the deep ball. It just kind of is what it is. He's not going to turn the ball over too much, and he'll be good at managing the game manager. It just that's what he feels like for his. But he'll start for probably 10 to 15 years.
Ultimate vanilla quarterback, I think.
Yeah.
And the obvious, Seattle definitely not. They're gonna have Russell Wilson back. The last one is interesting. San Francisco.
At some point, you run out of teams, but I don't see how they bring Garoppolo back. I could see Garoppolo back to New England because I think Belichick loves him, and then them making a run at Stafford. If Aaron Rodgers was available, they'd make a big run at him. But there's going to be 6 teams that make a real run at Matt Stafford, and Detroit's in a good position where they're going to get probably more than what they expected from him.
Yeah, the price for Matthew Stafford. To the moon.
Matt Stafford. To the moon.
I was waiting on that one. I love Matt Stafford. I really think he's a good quarterback. I think he's very underrated because a lot of people think, well, he was only good because of Calvin Johnson. You guys are morons if you think that. Matt Stafford has had a really good career.
There's a video that I'm sure you can find on Twitter. I think it was his rookie year where they're going on a game-winning drive, and he gets hit in the ribs. And goes back, to the sideline, goes down, goes to the sideline. They call a timeout, and he can he's wheezing, barely able to talk. He's like, "No, I'm going back in there. I'm going back in there." Goes in, throws a touchdown. They win the game. And that was his rookie year, and that's how he's been since then. His entire career, that dude gets demolished, and he doesn't miss. I love him. I think he's a guy that you want in your locker room, and he's the highest paid guy on your team, quarterback, and he's willing to take a beating and keep going. That's a dude you want in your locker room on the field with you.
I like him. I've always liked him. And if the Chiefs had a quarterback vacancy, which I hope we don't for a very long time, I know we won't for a very long time. he'd be a guy that I wanted if I was rooting for any team other than Kansas City. So there's a lot. I mean, I'm just thinking you might see 7, 8, 10, maybe even more teams with a new starting quarterback going into next year. I don't think it's going to be as many as people are estimating. It's probably not going to be all the ones we said yes to. Some of those guys will end up coming back. But I think you're going to see a flurry of
There's a possibility.
There's a possibility for about half the league, honestly, is what we kind of summed up right there. So that's it for the NFL. We'll hit back more on that next week when we get to talk about the Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be a fun one. Moving on to the NBA. This week marked the 1-year anniversary of Kobe's death. I believe that was on Tuesday. Any thoughts you want to share on that?
No, I mean, everybody, when it happened, you kind of shared your thoughts or whatever. It feels like it's been 2 years because of all the crazy stuff that happened in 2020, and it felt like forever ago. And I don't know, he was my generation. Him and LeBron are like the guys in my generation when I started watching basketball. And I can remember being in middle school or high school or whatever, and you're sitting in the classroom and you roll up a piece of paper, shoot it in the trash can, and yell Kobe. It's wild, that it's been a year, and it's just if you listen to Chris Vernon, he talked about it on Tuesday. He was like, our NBA legends are supposed to live forever because it feels like they do. Like these guys live till they're like 80 or 90 years old, and the fact that he kind of turned around and was coaching his daughter and giving back to the game in such a different way, and kind of just moved completely past his playing days and was like, I just want to give back to the game that gave me everything. I don't know. That was a hard one to swallow because I feel like I haven't seen us, like in my time, lose somebody of that magnitude.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were upset when Michael Jackson died, and I remember I wasn't living in the time where he was the greatest, putting out constant records where he was, it was awesome. Still
I wasn't alive when Thriller came out, or
exactly. I wasn't around for the peak. I knew him more as the, having Neverland Ranch and having problems off the court, off the field, off the stage, off the court. What am I saying? He didn't play sports, but Prince and Tom Petty hit me kind of hard. But I don't feel like I was around for all their greatness. Kobe was the one who I don't know, man. He seemed invincible. Like I don't know. It's there are two stories that I think have shaken me as a sports fan, like completely shaken me, from like guys who at tip top of their game. Like Kobe passing away is obviously one of them. The other one was Tiger Woods. We're going through all that, stuff, with the cheating scandal and all that stuff, and him kind of getting defamed and everybody dropping him from advertisements and stuff. Like Tiger and Kobe were the best guys that I saw their whole career.
Yeah.
Start to finish. I was too young to really understand the beginning of Shaq's career. I would say he's probably the most, the guy who I thought had the best career, who I saw start to finish. But man, Kobe was there were times I couldn't stand him, because on the court he was, I don't know, man. He just bury your team. He'd have a
I don't think I
quiet
could
38,
stand him. Yeah, I don't think I could stand him until probably like the last 5 years, when he started to seem like he wasn't invincible, where he was going through injuries and didn't have the best teams. But man, like when he was on the court, like it didn't matter. Like he was just a different dude. Like mentally, he was just a different competitor. I don't know. It was,
Yeah.
they're like him and maybe Jordan, but I think they're like one of a kind in that competitiveness.
Mom will appreciate this story. I know she's going to listen to the show, and I know she'll appreciate the story. My 6th grade dance at Barrett's. I remember we're going to pick out something to wear, and I said, Mom, I want to look like Kobe Bryant looks like walking into the arena. I wanted to dress like Kobe Bryant for my dance, and that was because they'd all walk in with the vest and the not always a suit jacket, but he didn't wear a suit jacket. He'd wear the vest and the white undershirt. I look like a waiter at an Italian restaurant. Everybody else is in jeans, and I'm in this Italian restaurant
looking like
garb.
Kobe
to the moon. Man, I don't know. It's crazy how he influenced so many people. I finally got my first pair of Kobe's since he passed. I got some of those, and I was really excited to wear them this week. To kind of, it's my little way of honoring it. He made an impact on a lot of people. I still love the shirt that you got me last year. You ordered the one that said "Girl Dad," and as a girl dad, it was really cool to see everybody rallying around how much pride he took in that.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows I take pride in being a girl dad myself.
I wish I would have brought the picture in here, but you've seen it. It's in my bar. The one of it's LeBron, Kobe in the middle, and Jordan on the other side, and they're walking away from it. It's like a hand painted. April got it for me, and I think that's my favorite, picture or sports memorabilia I have, because it's like, I think those are probably 2 of the 3 I got to watch basically their entire career. The early part of Kobe I didn't see, but like those are, maybe you could argue, the 3 best players of all time. I don't know. It's sad. And like I said, I can't believe it's only been a year because of just the crazy year we've had.
Yep. I'm with you. On to stuff on the court in the NBA. Are the Pelicans bad?
Defensively, they can't guard anybody.
Yep.
And I don't know if Stan Van Gundy, I know he's in his first year. I don't know if he makes it through the first year, because they expected playoffs this year. Yep. I think Lonzo's on the trade block now. They're not good, that's for sure. They're not as bad as their record is. I do think, Zion's really good, and I think Brandon Ingram's really good. But their spacing, Steven Adams doesn't fit there.
No.
Their Eric Bledsoe does not fit there. Like, they need to put players around Zion like LeBron's gotten forever. You need to have guys that can shoot. You need to treat him as Giannis and LeBron.
I agree.
And start building that way. And I think he's got to be the dominant player. Ingram is a better scorer right now and probably a better player overall right now. But I think you got to give Zion the keys to that car and let him roll.
I think they're going to struggle to build a great roster around them. I don't know why. Zion seems like one of those guys. Like, I think he's going to be a really good NBA player, but it's just hard to be as awesome as we want him to be when he can't guard anybody. And Ingram's not a great defender either. Like Adams is their best defender, but he's a net zero on offense, right? I mean, really, I don't think Bledsoe fits with him. He can't shoot. Lonzo is, it's a weird, like, individually in a vacuum, like a lot of the players on that roster are good.
Yeah,
it doesn't fit. Doesn't fit. Drew
I
Holiday
think
fit him so much better.
I think Zion in the NBA, his best position is going to be the 5. I know he's short, but the way he jumps makes up for that. But that way he doesn't get killed defensively because there's no post guys, very few. Joel Embiid, Anthony Davis that are going to kill you in the post. Like that's about it. And so I think he can be better defensively if he's not having to guard somebody that can put the ball on the floor and go by.
I tend to agree with that. I think he'd get abused in like if he's having to guard the post against guys, your classic bigs like Valanciunas and Embiid and guys who play that style still. I think he'd get hurt in those games,
But there's just so very few of those now that
exactly. So you can get away with it. Like
yeah.
90% of the time, you can get away with it. Like I think Ayton might be one that could give him trouble too. Maybe a couple others that I'm not thinking off the top of my head. It's probably a small ball five. I might start him at the 4, but I play him a lot at the small ball.
But
5.
then what is he going to do to those same guys on the other end?
Oh man, you can't. It's the classic Travis Kelce thing. I'm too
Jonas,
fast for the big guy.
Zion would dunk by the time Jonas turned around to see where he's at.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got a long ways to go. They got to figure out their roster around those guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. The next question you had on here was can Utah make the finals? I want to hear your thought before I give you mine.
Yes. I think they're one of those few teams that they don't have a superstar. Kind of reminds me of that Pistons team that beat the Lakers in the early 2000s where they don't just have one guy. Because I don't think Donovan Mitchell's a superstar. But if you look up plus minus right now, and we're still a quarter of the way through the year, do you know who's leading the NBA in plus minus?
Is it Mitchell?
No, it's Mike Conley. Defensively, he's been awesome. He's averaging, I think, around 17 points a game. Gobert last night in the first quarter had like 10 rebounds and 20 points. Just going off. He's been great. Jordan Clarkson is as Tony Allen would say, a human Uzi coming off the bench. He's a human Uzi.
Yeah.
I think their team and Joe Ingles is good. Bogdanovich is good. They got so many really good players, and I think they could because I think Gobert could give Anthony Davis some troubles. I just think they got the right makeup to combat the Clippers and the Lakers.
My answer to the question, can they make the finals, I think is no. But it's not to knock them. It's more to say I don't think they could beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. I think they could beat the Clippers. I would make a case for them as the second best team in the West behind the Lakers. I'm going to say the Lakers are going to win everything until they don't,
Yeah.
But when you look at their stats page, they're 7, 8, 9 deep with quality players. You obviously love the starting 5. It's a great starting 5 with Conley, Gobert, Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal, and Mitchell. Royce O'Neal is a very underrated NBA player. Those are all good role players. But then you bring Ingles and Clarkson and Favors and Niang off the bench. Like that's 4 really high quality bench guys where you don't have a huge drop off from your starting 5. We talked a few episodes back about how NBA benches matter so much, especially in the regular season. And I think they've got one of the better ones in the league, especially bringing Ingles and Clarkson. Those are 2 of the best bench players in the league. It's a good team, and I can say that they are for real without saying they're going to win make it to the finals. I don't think they'll win the West. But can they? Sure. But it's going to take an injury or some bad play by the Lakers. I think the Lakers are still deserve to be the favorites. But this team it doesn't change the fact that this is mega impressive what they're doing. And good for Mike
I don't think
Conley,
they will. I think the Lakers are still way better. But I just feel like they have the makeup to cause – if anybody's going to beat them, I think they got the right makeup to do it. Now, will they? I don't know. But they've won 10 straight, and they just – I think they're they're first in defensive efficiency and 5th in offense.
Yeah.
Offensive efficiency. They're the only team in the top 5 in both. So, but the Lakers defensively, when it gets to the playoffs, they'll turn it on. LeBron looks like a man on a mission this year.
Dude, he's going to win. I think it's going to happen.
He'll win MVP.
I hope so. It seems to be going in that direction. My preseason pick was Luka, but it's not because I thought he was going to be most deserving of it. It's because I felt like people were sick of LeBron's greatness. I always think it should be LeBron. I think it should have been LeBron for
Yep.
probably the last 10 consecutive years. But maybe outside of a
Yeah.
couple of crazy seasons from Durant, maybe one of those from Giannis, Harden.
One
But
from Steph maybe or whatever. But yeah.
yeah, but I mean he should win it most years. And I went into the season thinking, yeah, he should win it, but he won't because everybody's going to be all over Luka. But moving from Utah, I'm impressed with what they're doing, but I still think LeBron, like it goes through LeBron for sure.
Yeah, and the Mavericks hadn't been good enough this year. Luka, I
No.
don't know what's going on with those guys, but they've been getting killed the past week,
Yeah.
last 4 or 5 games.
Speaking of getting killed and who's not getting killed, finally, our Memphis Tigers, a beloved Memphis Tigers basketball team. Since we talked last week, and I said I wasn't going to watch anything, I wasn't going to turn on the game at all. I will tell you, I did actually turn on a little bit of the Wichita State game. I watched a
There you
very
go.
small amount of the ECU game, and I watched a good, healthy chunk of the SMU game as well. 3 straight, and it's been playing a better brand of basketball, especially on the offensive end. The defense has continued to be really strong. What are your thoughts on the team? I'm still cautious, but should
Yeah,
I, on the brink, should I buy back in? Should my interest level be high at this point?
I would say I'm still cautiously optimistic because I think the Wichita State game, that was the best game they've put together. ECU was depleted and had 8 guys playing. So I mean, you should have done what you did to them. I was glad that they did it. The SMU game was a totally different deal. They got down 13, and from that point forward, they looked competent. They looked like the second best team in the AAC. They looked like what you thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. And I think it's just confidence. When one person starts hitting shots, everybody starts hitting shots. And I know we were dogging Alo at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah.
That guy is a dog. He is a dog, and he is there for it. He's the leader of that team. Their defense is always going to be there. That's the good thing. They didn't play great defense the other night against SMU. It was still good. SMU hit a lot of shots, but you're starting to see DJ Jeffries get going, and the MVP of this win streak is Musa Cisse. I know he got played out of that game the other night because of pick and roll, but him on the boards, when he went out, they started attacking the rim and made a run. But when he was in the game, SMU wouldn't even go to the hole. They would just stop, try to hit floaters, fadeaways, or kick it back out. And I don't know obviously you remember those UConn teams where they just had these big 7'4" guys that they would just stick in front of the rim.
Yep.
And it kept them in every game. And I think if we can continue to hit 8 to 10 threes a game, which is totally possible, and Lester Quinones is taking the role of Tony Allen and shutting down the other team's best player, they play in 2 hours, and I'll be glued to it because if they can win this game, they'll jump probably in the top 50 at Ken Palm or be around that. So you're starting to talk about tournament time again, maybe. There's still a long ways to go, but you're starting to get in that conversation again.
Yeah. I think I'm back in, but you probably hear the pause in my voice. I'm still
it's still college basketball.
It's still college basketball, so how far in can I actually be? I'm excited about what I'm going to watch the game tonight. I'm going to be interested in it while I'm watching. I may have some other stuff that I'm doing, but I'll have it on. And it's the first time that I know I'm going to be having it on in a while. I hadn't stumbled into it because I couldn't find anything else. It's I will plan to have that game on, and it'll be on. Probably the first time since the Bad Boy Mowers Classic, or whatever you call it, from South Dakota.
That was
what was the trophy for that one? Did you get a lawnmower if you won that?
Everybody got a replica 1/16 scale size push mower.
I'm sorry. To the moon.
Hold that line.
Let's go to the moon. All right. So, sticking with college sports. A lot of Tennessee fans are not happy about this Josh Heupel hire.
They came out like it was Greg Schiano getting hired.
I know, but what's your thought? Before I go in on it, tell me what you think.
I don't think it's the hire I would have made. That guy is boring. And the only reason I say he could be really good. I don't think he's a bad coach because I think he was good at Central Florida. And this year everybody should throw out this year if you had a bad year, because so many people opting in and out or whatever. But it's
They won't,
kind of
but they
like
should.
it's kind of like when, and I know we did this last week with the parallels between Tiger basketball and Tennessee football, but it's kind of like when we hired Tubby after Passner, and it just felt like, oh, like really, like we hired a guy that did the shooting fingers at the press conference, and it just felt boring. And he's
Yeah.
not a guy, like I was listening to Jeff Calkins 2 days ago, and he's like, he's boring to listen to. His press conferences are boring. Like he's not a fun guy to be around. And I think where Tennessee is right now, even if they're not going to be good for 2 or 3 years, you want somebody that can rile up that fan base.
Yeah.
But I do think they're being a little hard on him, because I think he's better than what everybody's saying he is in that Tennessee fan base.
I agree. There's things that. All right, let me just start by saying I want Tennessee to be good. I do. I'm not a Tennessee fan, but I'm married into Tennessee fandom, so I want to see them at least be somewhat successful.
Respectable.
And I think, yeah, at least respectable. And I don't think they have been that for quite some time. Maybe a couple years with Butch, but for the most part, they haven't been that. He got worse every season at UCF, but I can reason that out with, okay, nobody was going to maintain the heights that they were at. It's not possible to do. It's too competitive. It wasn't going to happen. There's people saying, well, he was fired as offense coordinator to OU. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I will say that I believe in Danny White and making hires, that I think he is one of the better athletic directors around. And I think if he wanted him, that is something, and that matters.
Yep. And he's been around him for 3 years.
I think the question you have to ask, and I think the question Tennessee fans are asking, oh, well, is it going to be 1998 again? No, it's not. But I think you got to change your expectations a little bit. Is he going to be better than Jeremy Pruitt, who you immediately had? Is he better than Jeremy Pruitt? And I think the answer to that is a resounding yes. Yep. I think that Pruitt, honestly, looking back, they probably shouldn't have fired Butch Jones. Like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they should have. I don't know. But they had some really good seasons under Butch. And they replaced him with Pruitt, who was just going straight down. I think he was a bad hire. I think Heupel is a better hire than him. The reason is disappointing because you think you're in a race for James Franklin and you're not. You think you're in a race for John Gruden and you're not. You think you're in a race for Urban Meyer and you're not. Jamie Chadwell, PJ Fleck telling them no. You know, I think Tennessee fans are thinking more of themselves than they should. Heupel just needs to be better than Pruitt at first. And I think he'll do that. My case for this hire, and I wouldn't be thrilled about it if I was a Tennessee fan, but I could reason it out and say, okay, prove it to me. He will be better than Pruitt because I think he can get a quarterback moving in the right direction. He was a great college football quarterback. He has had good quarterbacks at UCF. He coached good ones at OU. I think that he will get the quarterbacks in the quarterback room in the right direction, which they have not had. They had Josh Dobbs. Other than that, who have they had that was a good quarterback? Eric Ainge, maybe. He wasn't even that. He was always underwhelming. They haven't really had good quarterbacks.
Was it Clausen?
And they were the freaking Clausens. They weren't that good. They were just game managers. The SEC has changed. And I think when they hired Pruitt, it was the old SEC. Defense, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Let's play smash mouth football. That is not the SEC. The SEC is now just a southern version of the Big 12. Yep. And I think Heupel will be a much better fit in that than Pruitt ever was. He'll get the quarterback head in the right direction, and I think they'll be respectable. And at the very least, they'll be fun to watch because they'll score a lot of freaking points, which I think should encourage people.
I think this is probably a PSA for all college football fans. If you're not Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and throw in Notre Dame or Penn State maybe every once in a while, Georgia, you're probably not winning a national championship, and you're going to be up and down every year. You're going to have a top 10 team some year. If you're in that elite, like the top 15 to 20 program every year, you'll make it in the top 10, being a big bowl every year, and then maybe sniff in the playoffs. And then the next year, you're going to be in the lower teens ranked and not anywhere close. I think that's where just college football is. The top talent go to the same 5 schools every year. and Tennessee's not to the level, and they're not going to be at that level for a while, even if they
Yeah.
start, climbing that way, that they're going to get the 5 stars and be that level of college football program. It's just not going to happen.
We said this last week. Remember the old NCAA game, and you'd have the prestige stars, and I think Tennessee in NCAA 2003 might have had 6 stars on their thing. But
Yeah.
if we put out an NCAA football 2021, are they a 3 or 4 star program? Probably 4.
I think the only way that you really
About
make
4 out
that
of
leap
6.
and every once in a while, like really like have a 2-year run is do something like West Virginia did with Pat White and Steve Slayton, where you're just outspeed and you just out talent everybody with the 2 most important positions in college football.
Yeah,
And
it could
I
happen.
don't know. Yeah, I
But
mean, you could get that.
I'll be rooting for the success of Heupel. I'll just put it that way. I'll be rooting for his success. I want him
Hey,
to
I'm
do
glad he's
well.
out of the American.
That's true. That's true. On to other things. We know there's not a lot of sports going. Well, there's plenty of sports, but there's no NFL this weekend, so it's a chance to get caught up on some other things. I'm kind of excited to have a free Sunday, even though I've loved watching football every week. Love seeing the Chiefs win every weekend. I see what I did there. Love seeing that every weekend. Anything you're planning on watching or listening to, catching up on this weekend?
So what I'll watch this weekend for sure is the Royal Rumble Sunday night. Honestly, Goldberg's back wrestling, and even though he was my favorite wrestler growing up, I'm not too pumped about it. But I'll watch it because it's probably my favorite pay-per-view, even more than WrestleMania. It'll be a little different without a crowd because you always get that surprise return, and Edge is
Oh
back
yeah.
again, which is
Ooh.
cool. He already announced, but you always get those like 3 or 4 returns. And from the rumors, you got to be careful with dirt sheet wrestling and all that, but that WrestleMania could be full of like veterans coming back and that they could start here at the Rumble. So maybe a
Okay.
John Cena or something like that. I don't know. But I love the Royal Rumble. I just love the whole aspect of the Royal Rumble. So
You might have just
I'll be
talked me
glued to it
into
then.
watching the Royal Rumble. I gotta ask,
Because of
who do
Edge.
you think? Oh yeah, it's my favorite wrestler ever. Do you want to know the odds-on favorite right now, or do you
Yeah,
want me
because
to spoil it
I
for you?
haven't looked, and I was actually trying to think earlier who's going to win because I haven't watched. So I don't know storylines. I watch AEW. I don't really watch WWE. So yeah, who's the favorite?
All right, I'm just gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you the top 10 in no order. Okay,
Okay.
here are your top 10: Edge, Big E, Drew McIntyre, Daniel Bryan, Keith Lee, Brock Lesnar, Shinsuke Nakamura, The Rock, Goldberg, Roman Reigns. That's for the men's.
Well, so Roman Reigns is a champ and Drew McIntyre is a champ, so I won't go with either one of them unless they lose and go into it. But Brock Lesnar, I guess, could come back. I'm gonna go with Big E.
That's who I want to win, but I'm gonna think
It
it's
feels
him
like
or
the Daniel Bryan and Kofi thing going on. But I wonder if they don't let him win the Rumble and they do something at the next pay per view and let him get the title shot.
I think he's gonna get the title shot. I think he'll be the champ leaving WrestleMania, which I
And
don't
they've also been pushing
watch
Shinsuke, which I
anything.
would be pumped about.
I love
This is
Shinsuke.
all just Twitter stuff that I watch, but I would be pumped if they let Shinsuke win. But
All right,
I don't
I'm
think
watching
they'll
the
ever
Rumble.
have him as a champion.
I'm watching the Rumble. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna have to find out. Man, I just booked up something for Sunday, didn't I? Free Sunday.
Well,
Nope. Royal Rumble. Let's go.
yeah, I think we can still use WWE Network, but they just sold their streaming to Peacock for $1 billion over 5 years. Uh, so good for them, I guess. Their product still
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
But
it's not good. Royal
the
Rumble's
only other
always
two
fun, no
things,
matter what, though.
yeah, the other two things, not that I'm going to watch or well, I'll be listening to this because I listen to it every day, but we watched the movie Soul a couple weeks ago, and for a animation, I'm not going to say cartoon because it's not a cartoon, but it is one of the better movies I've watched in recent years. I really enjoyed it. If you like music, it's got a good story. You can watch it with the kids. So I highly recommend. And the color of this movie it looks real. Like they
Yeah,
were in a room, he's playing
it's
piano,
cool.
and I'm like, is that an animation or is this guy real? Like, is this real? I couldn't tell. Uh, and then music, like I said, I listen to it every day. Morgan Wallen's new double album, Dangerous, is really good, especially the first album of it, the first like 10, 12 songs. are really, really good. So I highly recommend. 10 stars, 5 stars, 2 thumbs up, whatever for me.
To the moon.
To the moon.
I enjoyed Soul too. We watched that with a family movie night. It was really good. We really enjoyed that one too. For me, I haven't decided what I'm going to watch. I think now I'm going to watch the Royal Rumble on Sunday evening. But just odd things. I may start Yellowstone. We just finished up rewatching The Office. I may start Yellowstone
Yeah.
before we lose our Peacock subscription. We just finished The Office, so maybe we'll watch that before it runs out. And then
Do it.
we've been talking about World War II in class, and a lot of my kids we started talking about Captain America and like how that was created in 1940. And I want to rewatch Captain America: The First Avenger, even though I know it's not the greatest Marvel movie. I want to rewatch it and look for like some of the more like World War II, World War One, just some of the symbolism that we've talked about in class. So teacher nerd there. And Avery has been dying to watch the Star Wars prequels. She's been wanting to go back and watch those. We finished 4, 5, and 6. We've watched 7, 8, 9, obviously, but I think we're going to watch 1, 2, and 3 at some point. And she's been wanting to watch it. I can't get excited about it because I know how.
It's funny you say that. We're probably starting that this weekend with Jackson and Easton and Grady. And I don't know if I want to start them at 4 because that's where I started and fell in love with Star Wars. But for them, they would probably like 1 and not because they don't know why people dislike that movie.
Have they?
You know what I mean?
The newer ones though.
They've seen bits and pieces. Like they haven't sat down and watched all of them. You know, they've seen like maybe 30 minutes at a time.
All right, I think 7, 8, and 9 would be a good place for them to start. You can kind of grip them and get them into the universe and all that, and then 4, 5, and 6, then 1, 2, 3. That's the order we're going, and you know her fandom now, so.
I think the one, and even though I don't like it, like the Anakin racing and building the, C-3PO and doing those things, they'll probably like, and it sounds goofy, but they probably like Jar Jar Binks and
Mr. Jar Jar Binks.
And Darth Maul they would love because they love face painted bad guys.
Oh yeah, Stingray.
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to start where they get hooked, and because we're gonna do it like every Saturday night or whatever.
Yeah,
we're gonna watch an episode, get some popcorn, and just sit on the couch or lay in bed and watch them. So
it's good stuff. The thing I'm absolutely watching is WandaVision. It's on Disney Plus, and it's
fill me in. Haven't heard of it.
Scarlet Witch and Vision, superheroes from the Marvel universe, or if you watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, all 22 or 23 of them, however many there have been, they were kind of minor characters, but they had a cool story going on. And the show is going to be basically a mini series, a 9-episode series where it's going to tie in and set up the next Doctor Strange movie, supposedly to set up the next the Marvel Cinematic Universe reboot of the X-Men. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and it's really cool. It's kind of like a love story to old TV shows. So far, the 3 episodes have gone through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I think it's going to work its way towards like present time. Elizabeth Olsen, yes, she's played Scarlet Witch. She is related to Mary-Kate and Ashley, but she's awesome in that role as Wanda. And Paul Bettany's really cool. You get to see the Vision character really come to life. It's cool. If you don't know the other stories that go into it, the other movies going into it, it may not make a lot of sense. But for somebody who's watched every single Marvel movie multiple times, it's awesome. And if you're a Marvel fan, it's so cool, and it's very unique for what they've done. One more thing I want to mention before we get off here. I mentioned on one of the first episodes that we had a college bowl pick of me and Anna and Avery, and Avery won. So
you got to get makeup?
I have to wear makeup. And Anna's
should this be next Thursday, next week when we do the show? She live makeup.
I don't know if we're gonna do that
cosmetic makeover. I think that's what we need.
I don't know if we're gonna do that.
People want it,
and I don't think it's gonna happen. I think we'll probably do a picture of it. That's probably what we'll do. We'll probably take a picture of it and post it on the channel. I don't want any video of her stabbing me in the eyeball because I know it's probably more likely. She's going to poke me in the eye with a pencil or whatever she's going to try to draw on my face. I have no idea. But when she puts on makeup, it looks like clown makeup when she does it on herself. Like
She put it on Easton the other day. Easton looked like a clown.
she comes out looking like the freaking Joker. Here comes the clown princess of crime.
So what does Anna have to do?
she, Avery gets to draw a mustache on her face. So I'm trying to decide, should I
Sharpie?
give her one of the square Hitler mustaches or go all out like old like Raleigh Fingers style?
Does
Like
Avery
all up
get
the
to pick
face.
the time that this stuff happens?
No, she wanted it to happen this weekend and the weekend before that and the weekend before that, and we haven't had time for it yet. But there
I was
will
gonna
be a
say that
time.
sounds like a good 7 a.m. on a Friday right before school starts for y'all to have to do that.
No. How about no? I like my job. I don't want to get fired for having come to school with makeup on. Anyway, this has been a fun episode. Anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I added a little fancy box at the bottom right hand corner of our YouTube videos. So if you hit that, it subscribes to our channel. You don't have to scroll down, saving you time and effort. Uh, no, like us on Facebook. We're probably gonna put more on there because it's easier to reach out to people we know than
Yeah.
Twitter. And I'm always trying to find like silly stories or whatever to throw on there. And maybe we'll post some hats that we got and. Um, I don't know. I've gotten this NBA Top Shot thing, so I may update people on that. It's kind of fun to do, and so we'll see. But appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all listening. Give us a like on Facebook, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This has been a lot of fun for us to interact with everybody. We really have been enjoying it quite a bit. Till then, till next time, hold the line to the moon. Bye, y'all.